Hey guys, this is Eric Johnson. I want to talk to you about PTSD a little bit. Um, I know it's a very serious subject. A lot of people have it way worse than I do. Vets coming back from the war, uh, servicemen, policemen, you name it, policemen and women. And, my PTSD was basically induced, self-induced, and I'm going to tell you what happened. But I still want to tell you what I'm doing today to help it, and hopefully this will help you too. But I was in the restaurant industry for a long time, like 18 years. As you know, restaurant work is very hard. It's hot, it's dirty, it's stressful. There's a lot of drama. Most of the cooks or chefs that I worked with, they would get wasted every night with the waitresses, and they'd come in hungover the next day, and they'd do that, the work hard, play hard dynamic, and then they wake up one day and they're 50 and they're all haggard and stressed out and all kinds of diseases and whatnot, stress related crap. But so what happened to me was I was one of the guys that drank at night after work, and pretty soon I would get drunk at night, and then in the morning I would be hungover and wouldn't want to go into work. Eventually I started getting DTs and the shakes and withdrawals, and it was hard to go in because the kitchen is all stressful, and we're cutting cases of onions and broccoli, and we're getting ready for a party of 600 that evening, and it's hard to go into when you're all hungover and shaking. This could be any kind of job that you go into hungover. In my 20s, it was like it wasn't that big of a deal. You go in hungover and you're like, wow, I don't feel good, and you have a couple Diet Cokes and then you're good to go. You sweat it out. But when you get a little bit older and you start drinking more, and you go in with the shakes, it starts to become a problem. And so the PTSD for me, how it was self-induced, was around 36. I was getting wasted and drinking as much as I could throughout the day, just to maintain some semblance of a whole person. To get rid of the shakes, I would have to drink in the morning, in the afternoon, and during work I'd have to jump into my car and have a couple beers just to stabilize my nerves. So the PTSD part of that was the last year of my drinking. I stopped eating, basically. I couldn't stomach food. My stomach was swollen shut. It felt like my diaphragm was pushing down on my stomach. I hated food, actually. I could only eat if I had a buzz. And so basically what happened was that last year, if you stop eating and you're still drinking, you got a serious problem. My drinking career crashed. I didn't want to keep drinking, but the point is that my drinking got horrible once I stopped eating food. And I know if you're a drinker out there, a heavy drinker, I'm sure that you don't really like food either unless you've had a couple drinks. And that's been my case. So the PTSD started when I would go into work and I would be so nervous that they would find out that I had a drinking problem. I would go in, my nerves would be just shooken up. I would have been up most of the night trembling. I would have woken up at 4 a.m. to have a couple drinks off of a malt liquor beer just to go back to sleep, because my body it feels like it's vibrating. Like you just can't relax when you're coming off of alcohol. And so I would wake up at 6 a.m. to go to my job, this huge kitchen, industrial kitchen, with 10 other chefs and cooks. And the bright fluorescent lights, and I'd go in and I'd just be like, oh yeah, hey guys, yeah. And then you add the no eating food, you're basically starving to death. You can't eat and you're trembling. But after a while, you can't even talk, because when you talk, it sounds like this, because you're trembling so bad. So I got to the point where if I didn't have, you know, my morning beer, if I had to go in without my morning beer, start shaking, start sweating, can't speak, I actually had to phrase sentences with 3 words or less, because my voice started shaking after the 4th word. I started to get PTSD. So what that meant for me was, if I did go into a kitchen, I would have PTSD. I would be scared. That walking through that door would be terror. It would be sheer terror. So that's my story with PTSD. Obviously, it's not nearly as bad as PTSD from war vets and police officers and whatnot. I'm not trying to steal the light from the true warriors and heroes of this planet. But if you have PTSD, I hope that I can still share some insights, and I wanted to talk about some natural tips that can help. One is called CBD oil. It's right here. I'll leave the link below, but what you do is you take a full dropper, and it's natural. It's CBD oil. It's a cannabidiol oil from the hemp plant. There's no THC. This is not a drug. This has actually been proven to help anxiety. So I'm almost out, but you can see it's a beautiful yellow elixir. You put it under your tongue, let it sit there. You could start with 20 drops if you're just starting out, but if you have PTSD and you're about to go into a stressful situation, you're going to want to take a full dropper of that, and the max you can take every day is 2 droppers twice a day, or 1 full dropper twice a day. So you could do it in the morning once, and then you can do it at night. And it takes about an hour and a half, and it's very subtle. Okay, it's not something that you're like, whoa, I feel so calm. It's not super strong. It's subtle, but what it does is it builds up in your system, and then eventually the PTSD or anxiety or whatever you have slowly starts subsiding, and it makes your life a little bit more manageable. It's really good stuff. The other things that could help PTSD would be like cutting out sugar. I switched to stevia. It's made a dramatic difference in my life. Like, sugar is horrible. I have been on a apple fritter binge for the last 2 weeks because it's still summer, and I don't really want to commit to health and working full time on the internet. So I've been kind of screwing off and eating fritters, and sugar has really made my body ache, and I'm a little more nervous now, more anxious. So sugar is horrible because there's nothing else I'm doing differently except for adding sugar into my diet. Stay away from instant coffee. For some reason, instant coffee is bad. Pop is horrible. That's what makes your joints ache. I mean, it's horrible stuff. It's very acidic on a level of 0 to 14 pH level, 0 being the most acidic. Pop is 2 on that level, 2 acidity. Coffee is 4, so pop is twice as bad as coffee, okay? Stay away from that crap. So watch my other videos if you'd like to know more about the psychological stuff that you can do to help your PTSD or social anxiety, whatever you're into. Click the link below, check out the CBD oil. It really does help. I've been on it about 3 months, and my social anxiety has gone way down, and you know, I feel pretty grounded, besides the sugar and the fritters, but you know, what can you do? So hang in there, guys, stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon.